Okay, folks, here we are. Let's get started. Now, the first step in audience building is going to be to create some art. I know you're on a long journey towards creating art right now, which you need money to make. Why am I making you create art right now? Well, I'm going to tell you a few reasons, and I don't want you to close off your mind to this idea because honestly, it is going to work. And the first idea is this. Number one, it works. So a lot of clients come to me and they say things like, I want to be the next Exploding Kittens. I want to be the next Amanda Palmer. And these are examples of crowdfunding campaigns that were super successful. I look at these campaigns as well. I have gone through, and I encourage you to do this, go into Kickstarter or Patreon and look at the most funded campaigns, the campaigns who have made the most money. And when you start Googling, you go into Wikipedia for these projects, you will see that these people have spent years creating free content for the internet before asking for money. I don't need you to spend years creating free content for the internet before asking for money, but I do want you to spend a little bit of time making something. I'm going to just briefly give you an example of the game Exploding Kittens, which the people are desperately trying to make clones of. It was created by a webcomic creator named Matthew Inman, who created a comic called The Oatmeal, which you could view online for free for 9 years before he tried to kickstart his project, which was actually not his first ever Kickstarter. And people think at it and they say this came out of nowhere. Not true at all. Amanda Palmer was on a record label. Her music was available on her website for free before she had that $1 million Kickstarter. So she was constantly appealing to her audience and their sense of generosity and their sense of egalitarianism before she reached out to them and asked for money. So none of this comes from nowhere. None of this comes from, I don't have an audience or I've never made anything. You've got to start building that crowd. And that's what this process that I'm going to be teaching you is all about. So I don't need you to spend a lot of money on it. I don't even really need you to spend all of your time. This doesn't need to be a full-time job making stuff. We're going to develop a project. But yes, number one, it works. And that's why we're going to do it. Number two, in the process of creating things, you are going to be iterating and growing as a creator. You can't iterate and grow as a creator if you don't go through the process of making something and releasing it. It's a super important part of being an artist, and this is not necessarily a class about creation, but it is something that I find that really, really helps my clients is that they'll learn really what they want to make by making something and releasing it and who they are as an artist. This also will make the audience a part of your process, which is really important when it comes to asking them for money because they're going to be way more excited about being a part of your project when they have seen you grow. It's like, you want to lend your child money because you've seen your child grow up. Maybe that's not the best metaphor, but you really want to be a part of the process when you have seen it happen. And people are going to be really psyched to be a part of that process. They're going to be way more excited to be part of a process that they have seen happen than somebody who just pops out of nowhere. You are building this well of content, which means that you're going to be having more time and more engagement with your audience. Again, this is the main reason we're making content, is that we are building this big internet hole that people can get lost in and spend a lot of time in. I use the example of, there's a band called Pentatonics that when I am having a long night, I will go into YouTube and I will find a video from Pentatonics, and this band has hours of content. There is so much time that you can spend with this band on YouTube. And as a result, I feel like I know them. Now, if they only ever made their shiny music videos that look like $10,000 each to make, I would only have maybe 30 minutes of time spent with Pentatonics. But because they post vlogs and they're constantly posting low-cost content to create, then I get to spend a lot of time with them, and then they become part of my identity. And this internet hole is something that I can fall down into over and over and over again. And that's the kind of thing you're going to make with your art. And you're going to be spending the time before your project creating art and building your audience with this art instead of just with empty hype. When you are at home on a Friday night thinking about, gosh, I really want to, over the next 6 months, crowdfund a project and write my new novel or release my new album, the things I want you to be working on are creating art, not just thinking about plans to build hype about it. Actually, I want you to be doing both. And I think there are some creators that are the kind of people who are just going to be work, and never think about promoting it. And there are some people that are going to be thinking about promoting exclusively and not necessarily doing the work. You do need to be doing both. And having this project that you and I are going to create is going to be an excellent balance of both of those things. So let us talk about what is a good project, what is a good kind of content to develop. And when I talk about content, I'm really talking about anything that's videos, photos, blogs, texts, podcasts, anything that you post on the internet is content. But we're going to create something that is valuable instead of just like an ask. Like a tweet asking for money is not, I wouldn't call content or value. Something that is basically art. That's the kind of content we're going to create. So what's going to be the good kind of content for this project? Something that is really easy to jump into. So that would be, a photo is more easy to jump into than an hour-long podcast. Something that is located right where people are. So this is, for example, something that people can look at and consume right on Facebook or Twitter or wherever you are jumping at them, instead of having to go to a website or log in to, your forum or whatever to get to. Something that is free and has no speed bumps to get into. Again, no logins, no long ads that they have to wait through. Something that requires no work on the part of the viewer to consume is going to be great content for this particular project. Video is going to be better than audio for people to watch. It's going to be a lot lower of an ask to ask people to watch a video. Photos are a lot easier to ask people to get into than text. It's a lot easier to consume a photo. And captions on videos are going to make them a lot easier to consume than videos without captions, as you have probably noticed yourself if you are the kind of person who uses social media. So that's a bunch of chatter about what makes good content. Now let's get to the next video where we can get some examples.